Wonderful. Welcome, everybody. I'm so pleased to see so many friends. Almost all of you are members for this special visita featuring Sarah Aroeste. We're so proud of her with all of her projects and her accomplishments and her awards and all these things. And we have some other distinguished visitors. Susanna Bahar, thank you. We're, as we said before, we're so looking forward to your performance for Ladino Day in February. And Gloria Asher, our very, very longtime friend, who one of the few people I know who still remembers our dear David Simon, that I always want to say. And of course, Susanna, there's not too many of us left, but we are always appreciating his memory, and Jack Caraco and Rosina, and thank God all the others who got us started. And we keep going as much as we can, thanks to God. Yes. So
my cousin, I just wanted to mention my cousin Vivian Weiser.
Yes,
that's how I got to know the Andaparanda. How should I know Palm Beach? Palm Beach County. Yes. That's how I got in. I saw her name. I said, "Oh, Vivian is there." So.
Yes, Vivian. We loved Vivian. Esmeralda is how we always call her.
Yeah. Oh, you knew that she was Esmeralda.
Esmeralda. And we have some members from our Viva Ladino class. Lucy Lewison, thanks for coming today. And Sheila Pozensky, thank you for coming today. And then we have our beautiful crowd in person, a lot of members and some new people. I want to mention we have some guests. Anna Tober is here. She's on our board, and she's brought her son, Alan Tober, and his wife, Allison Tober, who have moved here. So we have new people. And Louis is here from our board, Louis Saltiel. Who else is here new? We have, well, we have a lot of wonderful people. So we're socializing on this side and you guys are socializing on that side. So I think our experiment is working and I think we're ready to begin. So thank you all again for being here. And who's taking it from here, Bob?
Jake is taking it. I just want to interject one thing.
Yes.
For anybody that likes Sarah's stuff, I have posted the link to Sarah's store so that you can buy recordings or swag or whatever else she does. And if you're interested, you can sign up to be on her email list.
Oh, yes, she said beautiful pre-Hanukkah holiday items for sale. So yes,
I've already ordered her Hanukkah stuff for my grandchildren. So
yeah, and of course, our Sephardi Federation, we've been very fortunate to be able to have our resources, and we shared a little bit. Wish we always had more to help Sarah out with the Monastir project, and that's really what our program is mostly about. She's going to give us a report on how the Monastir project has been doing and all her other new things. So thank you all again for coming.
Oh, it's all yours, Sarah.
Oh, it's me. Okay.
Sorry.
I thought you were going to say something. Okay, great. Hello, everybody. What a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out live and on Zoom. And I'll be saying it a few times, but a true thank you for everyone who has supported this project, and I'm so excited to tell you about what it's been up to this past year. I want to start off by singing a song. It's the first track on the music part of the Monastir project. It is part of a style of song, of Ladino song, that was very popular in the Balkans, canticas de paridas, birth songs. And this one is called Oi ki muevi mesis. And it is unique to the Jews of Monastir. So while this type of song was found throughout the Balkans with various lyrics and melodies, the version I'm going to sing was only found in Monastir. And I want to start off with it because this song is about birth. And for me, it's really about rebirth. We are bringing back to life this beautiful, beautiful community that once was. Oi ki muevi mesis. Oi ki muevi mesis, passatis districture, mus nation figiu di carne di lune, vive la paride con su creatore. Quando la comadri disi dali, 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 disi la paride, odio scapparmi, disi la suggendi, amen, 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 amen. Ya viene il parido con los convidados, en la mano trae resta de ducados, en la otra mano trae un buen pescado. Ya viene el parido a los pies de la cama, desde la paride, hoy no comí nada, presto si li traiga, gainen son diade, oh que buen vino, vino refredado, vos vive el parido, que me estrago vino, oh que pare, pare, pare reveridade, vive la paride con su creatore. Thank you. So that song is about bringing new children into this world. And in this song, the whole community comes out to welcome the birth of this new child. And that is what we are doing today. We have a whole community here to witness the birth of this new monastir that we are bringing back to life. So I'm going to share my screen now to tell you a little bit about Monastir if you aren't familiar with Monastir. So this is a picture of Monastir many, many years ago. This view no longer exists, but it is very, very beautiful. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what life was like at the time of this picture. If you're not familiar with Monastir, here's a little bit of background. Monastir is in what is today North Macedonia. North Macedonia. It underwent a lot of different changes over the years. You might know of it as being in the former Yugoslavia. Now it is North Macedonia, and it is currently called Bitola. Bitola. So it is no longer called Monastir. It is called Bitola, which is in sort of the bottom left corner of North Macedonia. But the Jews who came from Monastir still call it Monastir. Now, who is it who is from Monastir? This is my grandfather in the arrow with what looks like a sombrero, but it's not. It is a traditional Macedonian getup. He was getting ready with his cousin Max for the Pasha to come through town. The Pasha was like the governor, and this was a very, very special occasion. This picture was taken around 1906 or thereabouts, and it was my grandfather, who was the oldest of 9 brothers and sisters, and he came with his family to the United States during the Balkan Wars in 1912, and they settled along with many other Monastirli families in Rochester, New York. Now, there with the arrow is my grandfather again. Next to him is his grandfather, our Papu. And next to him, the other man with the long white beard is Rabbi Jayan. And Rabbi Jayan is one of the most famous, most beloved rabbis from Monastir. And in the 1920s, he did a PR tour in the United States to help raise money for the Jews of Monastir who were still there. And one of the primary goals of his whirlwind fundraising tour was for the cemetery. Now keep that in mind. We're going to come back to the cemetery in just a little bit. But even when my family settled in Rochester, they were still very much connected to the community in Monastir. Now, I also have a lot of stories passed down to me from this beautiful woman in the center. This is my cousin Rochelle, who I know a lot of people at the Federation know. And Rochelle, this picture was taken when she was the sprightly young age of 102 years old. She is currently 104. So this picture was taken almost 2 years ago. She is doing so well. She's 104 years old, and she was born in Monastir. She has an incredible story, which we'll learn a little bit more about in just a minute. But in brief, her whole family, along with 98% of the Monastirli Jewish community, 98% were murdered on March 11th, 1943, when they were rounded up and taken to Treblinka. Rochelle lost her entire family, but she survived, because she was hidden in the trunk of a car and taken to Albania, where she was given a new identity, a new passport, Fatima Hussein. And she pretended to be Muslim, living with a Muslim family for the duration of the war. When the war ended and she returned to Monastir, there was nothing there. No Jews ever returned to Monastir to make it a sustainable community. Rochelle now lives in Brookline, Massachusetts, where she's been since the 1950s, and she is a true miracle and is truly the inspiration for much of the Monastir project. I have taken the stories that have been passed down to me from my grandfather, who I had the pleasure of knowing well into his 90s, and along with my cousin Rochelle and all of her stories. And I have put them into a 2-decade career already of singing these stories through Ladino song, through the language of our family. Now, somebody in Macedonia got wind of the fact that I had a grandfather from Monastir. So that same picture somebody saw somewhere on the internet, and they contacted me in 2014 asking if they could interview me. And of course I said yes. And they translated it into Macedonian. And the final question was, would you ever consider performing here? And of course I said, oh my gosh, it's my dream come true. Well, the article was published. And over the course of the next 2 years, I was inundated with Facebook friend requests and emails and messages from people in Macedonia who wanted to know more about me and my family history. For years, I sort of laughed it off. I thought it was very lovely that all of these people were so interested, but I didn't think much of it until in 2017, I was invited to perform in Bulgaria, which, if you remember from that map, is right next to Macedonia. So I was performing in Bulgaria, and I said, it's so close. What could I do to make it over to Macedonia, to make my dream come true of performing in my grandfather's birthplace? Well, my Facebook friends said, you have to come. And they arranged the entire trip, from my transportation to my lodging to a concert to all of the details of my trip. They planned the entire thing. So indeed, in 2017, I went to Bitola to perform for the first time. Now, as soon as I landed, the very first place that these strangers, except for being my Facebook friends, took me was the cemetery. That same cemetery that Rabbi Jayan had visited in the 1920s to help fundraise for among the Monastirli community in the U.S. Now, this cemetery has the oldest Jewish cemetery in the Balkans. There is a grave there that is from 1497. 1497. And unfortunately, after World War II, there were no Jews left to take care of the cemetery. So it was completely neglected from World War II on. Now, here's the interesting part. All of these Facebook friends are volunteers at this cemetery, and they thought of all the places they could take me in my 48 hours that I was visiting. The first place they thought of was the cemetery, because they know that for a Jew, that is one of the most special, honored places you could go. So here we are at the cemetery, and it was such a big deal, they even brought a video crew to document my visiting this cemetery. They were really seeing me as a daughter of Bitola, of Monastir. And here is the grave of an Aroeste, and they wanted to film it. They then took me on a walking tour, and every house that we passed, people tried to invite me in to give me tea and homemade baked goods. This woman here, she bought a house from a Jewish family after World War II, and she wanted to tell me the story. And every single person I met on the street wanted to tell me some connection they had to a Jewish family before World War II. The next place they took me was to my cousin Rochelle's house. Now, this beautiful, beautiful house was built by her father in 1923 and is on the main drag in Bitola today. So there is a pedestrian walkway, and it sits right in the middle. It is now an Italian restaurant, but it is known as the Jewish house, and this is why. If you can see in the red, those are Magen David, Stars of David, in the grill work of the balcony. So even though no Jews have lived there since World War II, it is still known as the Jewish house because those stars are still there. And again, it was such a momentous occasion to have a relative of the Jewish house visit. They arranged a whole press conference about it, so more video cameras. And of course, I got to sit on that balcony. That evening, I had a standing room only performance that, again, those Facebook friends had arranged the entire thing. Again, another press conference. This was major local news. And that night, all of the people who had arranged the trip presented me with this beautiful, beautiful goodbye dinner. And it wasn't until that moment that I looked around and I realized not a single one of those people was Jewish. It hadn't dawned on me. I didn't know enough of the history to even realize that there were no Jews there, that all of these people were volunteers and were doing research and genealogy and upkeeping of the cemetery just because they feel something in their hearts that connects them to the former Jewish life of their neighborhood. I was so bowled over by this realization that none of these people were Jews that I came back to America and I wrote about it. And I wrote a whole article in Tablet magazine about I've traveled a lot in 20 years and I have never experienced the outpouring of love and respect for my Sephardic heritage as I did when I visited for that first time in Bitola. And I wanted to believe it wasn't a hoax. So the following year, I brought 20 Americans with me to experience the same thing. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just believing something or remembering something the wrong way. And sure enough, we all had the same experience. And here we are again at the cemetery. This was in 2018. Again, I visited my cousin Rochelle's house. You can see the stars there. But this time, I was not just there to visit the Jewish house. I was there to make sure everybody knew the exact Jews who lived there. It was not just a Jewish house. There were real people with faces and names who lived there. So my family put together this plaque of my cousin Rochelle's family with the exact names and births and history of the house. And we made sure that the now Italian restaurant Ravenna put it up so that everybody who dines there can see that there were real Jews who lived there. That night, I had another concert, again, sold out, standing room only, and this was a bigger one. It was actually sponsored by the city of Bitola and the Israeli Foreign Ministry. Again, it made local news. And that night, after the performance, we danced on the rooftops of one of the most famous hotels in Bitola. It's called Hotel Epinal. And in this picture, in this one snapshot, you can see Jews, Christians, Muslims, Israelis, Americans, Macedonians. We were all singing and dancing together. And that's when I got my aha moment. So those arrows are pointing to two musicians who we're going to hear from in just a minute. And that is the start of phase one of the Monastir project. I wanted to harness the energy that was from that photograph. And so this was the result. I brought together 30 musicians from Macedonia and Israel primarily. And I curated 10 songs in 3 languages, in Ladino, in Macedonian, and one in Hebrew, that are unique to the Jewish community of Monastir before World War II. I wanted young voices, older voices, Jewish voices, Macedonian voices. I wanted all textures and styles of music that could help present a snapshot of what life was like for the Jewish community and their neighbors before World War II. And this was the result. It took a year to curate with the help of so many volunteers. If there were 30 musicians, there were just as many volunteers. I put out the word to all of my Macedonian friends, and they provided me with so much music. I had too much to choose from that had some reference to Jewish life. And eventually we narrowed it down to 10 songs. So it's one thing to curate it, it's another thing to record it. And I started a very large fundraising effort to make this project happen. And I'm so grateful to the Federation for helping to support phase 1. And I want to tell you what it entailed. So last March in 2020, I went to Macedonia to start recording. So half of the project was to be recorded in Macedonia and half was to be recorded in Israel. And here again, they love having press conferences with me. So this was with the mayor of Bitola in the red hair. And I explained what I was doing in Bitola to record this project because the city is very, very proud of this project. So proud that they even had me present it to the president of the parliament. The president of the North Macedonian Parliament, who is in the middle. I presented the project to him. And then we got to work. So these were the two musicians that were in that photograph on the rooftop. On the left is Sefedin Bayramov, and on the right is Vevki Amidov. Sefedin is a vocalist. Vevki you can see with his clarinet. And I want you to hear what Sefedin says about the project.
Добар ден, јас сум Сефедин Байрамов, естраден уметник од Битола. Особено ми е драго што сум дел од овој проект на познатата Сара Ароесте. Мојата комуникација, мојата желба да соработувам со луѓето од еврејската националност во Македонија во периодот после Втората светска војна. Моите родители се вселија во куќа на одселени евреи од Битола за време на Холокаустот. Јас сум се родил во еврејска куќа, тука почнуваат првите мои контакти виртуелни, за жал, да се прашувам кој во оваа куќа живеел пред мене. Така што сум чувствувал некаква желба да воспоставам контакт со тие луѓе, меѓутоа во неможноста, еве преку вакви проекти го давам мојот придонес и задоволство што тие контакти продолжуваат на едно културно поле, што се воспостави на комуникација која трае до ден денес. Кога добив покана да учествувам на овој проект, за мене беше на голема сатисфакција, на голема благодарност и на некој начин одолжување кон тие луѓе што во чија куќа се вселив и поради сплет на околности јас се родив таму. Ова соработка ќе продолжи понатаму. Се надевам дека културата, песната ги спојува народите и политиката остава на второ место.
I'm going to sing a song that Sefedin recorded on the album in just a minute. We also, from some elders in the community, we also wanted to record children. And this is one of the most fabulous stories in the whole album. There is a kindergarten class in the middle of Bitola that nobody knows about called the Estrea Ovadia Mara Kindergarten. Now, that name is named after an actual person. On the right is Estrea Mara, who was born in 1923, and she died when she was 21 years old as a Jewish resistance fighter against Bulgarian forces in 1944. And these kindergarten children sing as their school anthem a song of thanks to Estrea Mara, which, if you think about it, they were born 100 years later than Estrea Mara and are singing a thank you to this Jewish partisan fighter. The song says, Estrea Mara, for you we sing, for you we laugh, for you we dream and live happily. You are our patron for respect and glory. You are our star, clean and shiny, clear sun and bright secret. So when I discovered this song, I knew I had to record the kindergarten kids. And so here is just a sampling of some of the little girls that we recorded. And I want to play this, and it has an introduction by my own cousin Rochelle in Ladino singing a children's finger game to my own daughter. And I'm just going to play a snippet, but I want you to hear.
La pulicocò, mamma va ir al mulino, va traer un bullico, este de shuyatido, este de shunotido, este de shuyatido, este de shunotido, este de shuyatido, y tú se lo va a comer por aquí, por aquí, por aquí, por aquí.
Oh, they're so sweet. And then I wanted to make sure that we recorded this beautiful young woman here, Helena Susha, who at the time was 18 years old and is one of 200 Jews left in Macedonia. Her family lives in Skopje, the capital, and we went to Skopje to record her, but it was so important for us to show that there are some Jews left. They might not be in Monastir and Bitola anymore, but there is a small community in Skopje. And Helena is a star of the Jewish community. She is a budding opera singer, and she just has a beautiful voice and a beautiful spirit. And we're so glad that she participated as a representative of the Macedonian Jewish community. Now, then the pandemic hit. So my producer, Shai Bahar, who's from Israel, and I had to leave very quickly as borders shut down, and my plans to record in Israel were dashed. So we had to pivot like everybody else very quickly. We were in the middle of recording this beautiful project, and we had to make some hard decisions. Luckily, we were able to enlist the most fabulous musicians from Israel who were able to record remotely. So this is Tal Yadin recording in his home studio. Here is another example of a beautiful percussionist, Inamar Dewari, from his home studio. Some of you might recognize this man. This is the great, iconic Israeli Yoram Gaon, who we're going to hear from in just a minute. He records on this album, and we recorded him in his home studio. And some of the funds that I was fundraising for to record in Israel had to be diverted because I couldn't rent out studios. I had to actually build out my own. So I did have to record from my own house. And there I am. And I'm ending with myself here because the Monastir project is so much bigger than just me. If you've seen anything so far, that's, there are so many other people who contributed to this project. I'm just one part of it. And that being said, I did compose a few songs, and I want to share two songs with you right now. The first song is called Mi Monastir, My Monastir. And I wrote it because of the inspirations of my grandfather and my cousin Rochelle. In March last year, before I had to leave, I had the chance to walk the streets of the Jewish neighborhoods, which I do every chance I get. And on the top row, you see my cousin Rochelle with the arrow. This was taken in the 1930s. You see her smiling and laughing with her friends and her family. And she's the only one who survives in that picture. Fast forward to 2020. There I am walking on those same cobblestone streets. If you've ever had the chance to walk literally in the footsteps of your ancestors, it is so powerful. Of course, I had to put it into song. So as I sing this song, I want you to envision some of these images. On the top right is my papu. Next to him is a picture of Rochelle's family. Rochelle is 5 years old in that picture. Underneath my papu is my grandfather, is the eldest of the 9 brothers and sisters. Ravenna, the house where Rochelle lived, and that beautiful mezuzah. On March 11th, 1943, when her family was taken away, their Christian neighbor knew how important the mezuzah was to a Jewish family and actually took it off their door in the hopes that one day she would be able to return it to them. And in fact, years later, she found Rochelle and returned the mezuzah, and I've held that mezuzah in my hand. It is such a treasure. So in this song, the chorus says, "Monastir, bring me home where the dusty streets call to me. The stars on the walls speak to me. The memories sing to me." Mi Monastir. Monastir no te olvidamos, tus criaturas te honoran, respiramos tus colores, aspirando tornar, guardamos tus voces, aspirando tornar. Monastir, tráeme a casa, donde las calles me aman, las estrellas me hablan, las memorias me cantan. Te veo caminar en el cortillo, riendo con primos y amigos, comiendo taralegos y siempre tan alto, jugando juguitos y siempre tan alto. Monastir, tráeme a casa, donde las calles me aman, las estrellas me hablan, las memorias me cantan. Tu alma es por alegría, mismo las flores ríen contigo, cusqueándonos con cuentos, con la cabot para ti, apreciando los momentos, con la cabot para ti. In mitt nu veio una fez, una croce, una mezuzah, buena sabiduría y sedaca, onda hablo de mis glanazos, tu monastir. Monastir, trae-me a casa, onde las calles me llaman, las estrellas me hablan, las memorias me cantan, las memorias me cantan.
Hermosa.
Mi Monastir. Okay, so before we get to phase 2, where things are right now, I want to do a song with you guys. So Sefedin Bayramov, who we heard that little testimonial for, sings a delightful song called Edno Vreme Sibev Ergen. And in that song, it's actually about a Christian man who wanders into the Jewish neighborhood and finds himself a beautiful Sephardic girl. And at first, Sefedin said, you know, Sarah, I can't sing this song. It sounds so disrespectful. And I said, no, I want to include this because I want people to see it's not just a Jewish album. This is an album for everybody, and I want people to see that the Monastir Project is about the Christian community and the Muslim community and all the communities that lived together before World War II so that we can see what that world was like. It's not just for Jews, it's for everybody. So I'm going to sing this song, and it's got a really, really fun rhythm, a 7/8 rhythm, and which you'll catch very quickly, but there's a lot of tra-la-la-la-la-la-las in it. You're going to hear me sing tra-la-la-la-la-la-la a lot. And once you get the melody in your head, I hope that you will join in. So the lyrics say in English, one time I was a bachelor, even a job I didn't have. So I left for a stroll in Bitola. And I found myself in my stroll through the Jewish neighborhoods, and there I met a Jewish girl with messy hair. And I told her, this is the punchline, I told her in Slavonic for her to become Slavic. And so we don't know if she actually becomes Slavic, but I think it is a very fascinating look at how the cultures lived side by side. So let's do it. Edno vreme sibev ergen. Edno vreme sibev ergen evrabota sineimav. Edno vreme sibev ergen evrabota sineimav. Trai la 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 la. Evrabota sineimav. Trai la 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 la. Evrabota sineimav. Pasi tugnav na broshetka v bitola. Pasi tugnav na broshetka v bitola. Trai la 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 la. Na broshetka v bitola. Trai la 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 la. Na broshetka v bitola. Now we're going into the Jewish neighborhood. Na prosietka vo bitola, ni ze freski te mali. Na prosietka vo bitola, ni ze freski te mali. Trai la 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 la. Ni ze freski te mali. spots the Jewish girl. Tam si stretna mama еврейка, so così rasturini. Tam si stretna mama еврейка, so così rasturini. Trai la 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 la, so così rasturini. Trai la 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 la, so così rasturini. One more key change here, demands it. We're going to ask if she's going to want to become Slavic. I rekao na slavianski da se storit slavianka. I rekao na slavianski da se storit slavianka. Traj la 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 la, da se storit slavianka. Traj la 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 la, da se storit slavianka. That's one of my favorites, and Sefadin Bayramov does it so beautifully. Okay, so where are we now? Right around Rosh Hashanah, I was honored by media outlet Alma for Monastir being the best Jewish album of the year, which was really such an honor. This album, you know, it's not a popular album. It's got a lot of depth. Every single story, every song rather, has a story, and I only gave you 3 or 4 of the stories. Each one has just the most poignant, beautiful backstory to it. And the latest news is that Monastir was eligible for the first round of the Grammys in global music. This is a real long shot. There are 195 entries that get narrowed down to 5 next week, and it's going to be a long shot, but it's such an honor even to be recognized in that first round. So currently we launched phase 2 this summer, and phase 2 is in 2 parts. The first is to record much more documentary footage. Sefadin Bayramov and all of the people who recorded have little snippets, but we want to really make this into an incredible documentary of how these musicians have come together. So it involves actually documenting them and bringing them together. So that's phase 2. The first part is the documenting. I started in July. I went back to Macedonia this past July, and you see me singing on the rooftop of my cousin's house. And I sung all throughout the streets of Bitula, and they recorded me singing parts of the Monastir project in the streets, because I want people to see that the streets, even though there are no Jews left, they are still filled with music. I enlisted young people. This is a local troupe, a dance troupe in Bitula. And we took some of the music and we danced to it through the streets of Bitula. And we purposely did it so that people would stop and ogle and look at us. You can see that man in the red looking to see what we're doing, because so much of this project is not just about the music. It's the conversations and the dialogue and the diplomacy. And we want people to be talking about the Jewish life that once was there. Now, all of this takes an inordinate amount of money and arrangements to do. We are creating musical footage and documentary footage. I want to give you an example because right after this, we went to Israel to do the same work to introduce the Monastir project in Israel. And I have a special surprise. I think only Rose knows about it. I want to share with you a premiere. Actually, it's not a premiere because it's not out yet. This is just a surprise glimpse of a video I recorded with the great Yoram Gaon. He sings the second track on the album. Oh, sorry, the third track, Yo La Quería, which again is a famous Ladino song in the Balkans, but our version is unique to Monastir. And I thought, Dayenu, it was enough for him to lend his voice to the recording, but he actually agreed to shoot a music video. So I am going to show it to you.
Y desde entonces yo la quería más que mi vida, más que su madre la amaba yo. Y desde entonces que voy por el mundo con el recuerdo de mi amor. Una mañana de puro invierno, en mis brazos ella murió. Y desde entonces que voy por el mundo con el recuerdo de mi amor. ¿Dónde estás, corazón? Yo no puedo palpitar. Esta grande dolor no la puedo soportar. Yo quería llorar, mas no tengo más llanto. La quería yo tanto y se fue para nunca más tornar.
Okay, I'm going to leave you all hanging because I know we're almost out of time. So that was just a taste. You'll get to watch the rest of it when it's officially out, but my gosh, what a treat it was to be with him. And so the part about bringing us together is happening. Next July, we have officially been invited to perform the Monastir project live in Macedonia. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited because the whole recording was done during the pandemic. We were all in separate places, in separate countries, in separate studios, and now we've been invited to perform at the summer festivals in Bitola, in Ohrid, and in Skopje. And so we are bringing together not all 30 musicians, but at least 10, 5 from Israel and 5 from Macedonia. And so this is really the heart of phase 2. We are putting on the live project and bringing it to the people of Macedonia. And during that tour, we hope to raise enough money to have a true videographer document the coming together of these musicians. So that's where we are right now. I do have another surprise. Oh, if you are feeling compelled by anything I've said today and want to help contribute to phase 2 to make this a reality, you can donate to the Monastir Project, which is a nonprofit through a fiscal sponsor, and all of the donations are tax deductible. You can find out all the information on my website, saraharoeste.com. And if you want to come to Macedonia with me, you can actually catch the last of the concerts in Skopje. So I am hosting another tour. I had such a wonderful time in 2018 bringing over a group of Americans. I want to do it again. And so this summer, we are going from July 26th to August 3rd, and it starts off right at the end of my music tour, so you'll catch me in Skopje. And it is a fabulous itinerary. I'm working with a wonderful company on the ground in Macedonia. And again, the information is on my website. Registration is opening next week. And I think that brings us up to today, which, besides the Monastir Project, I have another album coming out on Friday, and it is called Hanukkah, and it is an all Ladino Hanukkah album. And I know that Gloria Asher is on this Zoom, and she is one of the featured artists. We are so delighted to have Gloria singing one of her original songs. It is so delightful. And I just hope that you all listen to this album when it comes out. It's just a beautiful celebration of not only Hanukkah, but all things Ladino. And we are having a Hanukkah party if you want to join. There will be live music and another video premiere of the great Flori Jagoda's Ocho Candelicas. But of course, I'm giving it my own style. And there will be a Bimuelo cook-off and some prizes. It's going to be a really fun time. And you can join me for free. It is right there. And I think that is it. I'm happy to take any questions.
If anybody wants to ask a question, step to the back of the room. There is a iPhone there. You can just speak into the iPhone with the microphone and everybody will hear you. Please step up to the camera. Don't be shy.
Well, I can be the first.
Okay, Sarah.
Sarah.
Susanna, sorry.
Yes, sure.
Susanna Behar, welcome.
Thank you. I really want to congratulate you, Sarah. I've admired you for a while since I've met you, and I've seen all the things that you have done, and I really take my hat off to you for being so involved and so persistent in your desire to maintain this culture, as some of us are. And I can't believe the magnitude of this project that you have put together, and moreover, when you have done it through these very difficult times that we have gone through. So, kol hakavod, as we say in Hebrew, and I wish you most success in these and any other projects that you participate in, really.
Thank you so
from
much.
my heart.
Thank you.
I would like to clarify something though.
Yeah.
Since we are here and we are all learning, that song, I was writing it, but since I have the mic, I will say it. That song that you sing with Yehoram Gaon beautifully, I just want to say it's not originally a Ladino song. I'm surprised that it's presented that way. Yeah, because it's not.
No, it's not Ladino, but the version I sang was a Ladino version unique to Monastir.
Oh, well, that melody and the lyrics was written in the 1920s by Luis Martinez Serrano, and was performed the first time in 1924. It's a very well-known song that we all sing, but just like that, I'm surprised that it was exactly like that in Monastir. It's interesting. It's interesting.
It was actually collected. It's one of the stories in my liner notes. The person who arranged it was the son of the last rabbi of Monastir, which is incredible. Moritz Romano, he arranged the song, and he was the son of the last rabbi.
Well, it's just some information. Maybe you can research. I'm going to leave it there so you can look for the name of the composer. It's interesting to know.
But all of her cousins spelled it differently, some with a W, some the way you spell it. And I was just wondering, is Aroeste a very common name in Bitolo, in Monastir?
Yes.
And if not, perhaps we are family.
It's a great question. And the answer is yes. It was a very popular name, both in Monastir and also in Salonika. And even in my own family, we spell the name differently. So half of my cousins spell it without the O. Some have an I at the end. Some have a Y at the end. Some have Aroeste. It's all the same family. In my own family, I can say that when we went to Ellis Island, or so the story goes, depending on which line you were in, you either had the O or you didn't in your name. So who knows? But chances are we were all related back in the old country.
Introduce yourself first.
Who am I?
Right here.
Hello, Sarah.
Hello.
There you are. I was raised in Rochester.
So your name and who you are and where you're from.
My name is Susan Testo.
That's your maiden name.
That's my maiden name. And one of the pictures you put up looked like my grandmother and grandfather in Rochester. I'm wondering if you are related to any Calderones, or if you had the Aroeste family in Rochester.
Yes, so my whole family was from Rochester. And do you have a pen on you?
I should get one. Yes.
Okay, or I can put it in the chat, but I'm going to face the other direction. There is a website that links all the names from Monastir together. So if you haven't looked
Really?
it up, yes, you can look it up. I'm going to put it in the chat in case other people are interested.
That would be wonderful. And did you connect Monastir with Salonika? You did not.
I did not, except to say that they are very, very much connected. They were like sister cities almost. They're very close in proximity, and there was a lot of sort of back and forth and migration between the two. So I had a lot of Aroestes in Salonika as well. Some of you might know of the famous synagogue in Salonika after World War II, when everything was razed. There was one synagogue that was left standing because the Nazis used it as a Red Cross shelter. And on the facade, it's the Monastirli synagogue. It was built by the Monastirli community by Yitzhak Aroeste. So the cities were very much in relationship, and tragically lost, the highest percentages together of communities in Europe in terms of the not the number of Jews killed, but the percentage. So they're often spoken about together. But Salonika was bigger and gets a little bit more of the credit for being the Jerusalem of the Balkans. But Monastir was right up there with Salonika.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Oh, the wires.
Be careful. Great. Hi, Sarah. It's Rose again. And hi, everybody there. Yeah, it's so
what I love about our little organization, and first of all, we're so proud to be part of the sponsors for you for both phase 1 and phase 2. But that every time we have our little gatherings, people are always discovering each other. And here were Susan and her husband, Bob, here for the first time and discovering this connection with your family in Rochester, and learning more about their own family, their own history. And I know for myself, and I love Rochelle, whenever we were able to visit with her and my cousin Bianca. So my parents, as you know, were from Sarajevo. And so it's interesting for me to hear the Macedonian dialect, that I can pick up a little bit of the Yugoslav. And what maybe a lot of people don't know is that a lot of those people from all the different parts of former Yugoslavia, when they came to a lot through New York, Rochester, and the metropolitan New York area, they would seek each other out. And we had that, doesn't exist anymore, but during my parents' heyday, and this is where Rochelle got to know Bianca, is the Yugoslav Jews of let's see, were they of America or New York? I don't know if you remember, but the Yugoslav Jewish organization was really big. And all these people from the different portions, the different districts of the former Yugoslavia would seek each other out and be able to socialize and meet. And of course, Bianca met her husband through there and so forth. So that's how all these people that I grew up with, I thought of them as aunts and uncles, and you probably did too, the extended family of the Yugoslav Jews. And it was just very, very interesting how they stuck together, and they had social events, and it was just a beautiful organization. And where I grew up in Long Beach, like 80% of Long Beach was Jewish, and my family, the Papos, probably made up 20% of that 80%. And it was the Papos, the Danins, and the Kabilios, and the the Levis, and all these the Slavic names and language, and Ladino, and of course they all spoke Ladino. So I'm so grateful to you for following through. It really touches me. It's a beautiful project, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you to everybody who has participated and cheered me on. Thank you.
This is Bob, and I want to just add a few brief things. But the connection with the Yugoslav community is interesting, because it was the rabbis from Yugoslavia in New York that put together the original Union of Sephardic Congregations, commissioned the unified Sephardic Siddur that we all used, that the Solar Pool did. And without that influence, we would not have had a unified community. I also want to comment that I really love the way you do children's programs. Children absolutely adore them.
Thank you.
And you have just a unique and charming style that reaches out to children in ways that I was never able to do. And before I leave it on to other people, we have now put on all of our Ladino stuff an interesting quote that we translated from the Hebrew into Ladino. But it's a quote from the man that was the teacher of Rashi. And in Ladino, it's las canticas y las cuentas tienen más chokhmah que alguno otro derasha.
Wow.
Songs and stories have more wisdom than any other speech. And that's what we've been trying to do, is bring in people to tell stories and sing songs. And that was a great credential for somebody that thinks that there's more wisdom there than anything else.
Thank you for sharing that.
Anybody else want to say anything? Rachel Bortnick, welcome. Unmute yourself.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all. I wrote what I felt about Sarah in chat. I'm a big admirer of hers. And the main thing I want to say to you, Sarah, is you well deserve the honor you're going to get from the Sephardic Brotherhood. And we're very lucky to have you promote our culture. Thank you so much.
So much.
Congratulations.
Coming from you. Thank you. Thank you.
The other singer in the Hanukkah album wants to say something.
Hey, Gloria.
Gloria.
Yeah. Yo quería decir solo, I just wanted to say muchas gracias. It's such a wonderful event and such a wonderful coming together. And talking about the gala on December 5th, some of us will be there too, to get el deal. So we'll be there to celebrate also. And muchas gracias. It was such an honor for me to be part of that Hanukkah album. It's
the honor was all mine, Gloria.
Mas bueno. Congratulations and good luck with everything.
And Gloria emailed me last night. She told me we're going to be sitting at the same table.
Yay.
Anybody else?
I just wanted to say something and take advantage of Gloria and Rachel being here, our teachers, about what I heard in the first song, Sarah. It was interesting to me when you say, I mean, I guess that's the way they say it in Monastir. For example, instead of cara for face, care, and instead of casa, case. And the first time I really hear that. So I wonder.
Yes, it's very different from the so-called standard.
Right.
As we say, because we in Turkey were not involved in the Holocaust. It is the so-called Turkish dialect of Ladino that has become the standard. But yeah, the Balkan is very different, and they do exactly what you said. And there are other differences also. Yeah.
Just think of Flora Jagoda.
She changed Chinchu, I think she said, for 5 to Sinchu to Cinco, because people were asking her, why are you saying that?
I always tell my students that it's originally Sintu. I'm very respectful of things like that. And Flori herself.
I can vouch for that.
Now, Flori herself, I remember I was so disturbed about it that in Matilda's book, it was changed. I said, no, I remember it Sintu. I heard Flori sing it. And Flori told me later, I was very upset about it originally, but I'm so glad now. Thank God people love the song so much. They're singing it. They're making it their own. Ya está bueno. So she was okay with it.
But I think she recorded also a Cinco in one of her albums.
Yeah, no, I remember.
Yeah, she told me that she had to change it.
Well,
in one version anyway.
It's very. It shows the greatness of the person,
Yeah.
Flori. Yeah.
I want to recognize one other person who's on the Zoom with us, who will be joining us on January at a Charlotte program. Professor Dr. Jane Mushabak is also with us. I don't know if she's in the room or not, but hello, Jane, if you can hear us. And
I think she just left.
Oh, she just, okay.
No, she just disconnected.
Anyway, she'll be with us in January 18th, I think the date is. And on Tuesday, we have Hazan Ramon Tassat, who will be serenading us on the Charlotte Show. So I don't have the link. Go to our website, partyfederationtbc.org, to get the link and our other exciting programs. On January 16th, we have Dina Danone on another visita, just like this one, refreshments to be served. She wrote a book on the Jews of Izmir. That's the name of the book. February 13th, somebody who's on the Zoom with us today is going to be joining us live and in person. Susanna Behar.
Yay.
Yes. And on December 21st, one of the other honorees is going to be here from the Brotherhood. Al Maimon is going to be on Zoom. I've been taking courses, as has Rochelle and several other people on Zoom. He lives in and Gloria, and he lives in Seattle, and he teaches a multiple of courses for the Brotherhood. And he's a community Sephardi activist. He's a educator, let's call him that. And Sarah Al Maimon and Dr. Albert Burla of Pfizer fame, they're all being honored as they should be on December 5th, Sunday. Gloria will be there, I will be there. Like I told you, Gloria and I will be sitting at the same
I
table.
have an ad.
Excuse me?
Jane was Shabbat too.
Yeah.
Jane was Shabbat also.
Oh, James Shabbat. Okay, thank you. I wasn't aware. And join us. Go to our website, get the links, register.
Thank you.
We have exciting programs. And of course, thank you for Sarah. That's always thank you for Sarah. And she's always welcome at Valencia Isles at the Cohenack residence, where she has been before.
How are the dogs? How are the dogs?
What?
How are the dogs?
I second that invitation.
Yeah. Yes. Susan says hello.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.
And thank you to everyone for coming out to Sharei Shalom. Thank you all. And Bob for helping us out.
Vermos.
Al vermos. Mucha suerte, Sarika.
Vermos.
Oh, Jane ya vino atrás.
Oh, there's Jane. Hello, Jane.
Yeah, Jane came.